What's up, brother?
Hey, happy 1 year, man.
Happy 1 year, right? We got some exciting stuff coming up in year 2. We're really happy to announce that that we are just signed an ambassadorship program with Schedulicity. Schedulicity is a scheduling app, and they've been kind enough to help us out this next year.
Yeah, we met them in LA when we did the Salon Digital Summit, and they really believed in what we were doing and how we were doing it, and so they wanted to know how they can partner up with us to even reach more listeners and give what we give.
That's right. So with our partnership with Schedulicity, we will be able to reach more hairdressers, and we'll be able to bring a lot more content and get to a lot more hair shows. So hopefully we can see you guys out there in the hair shows when we're there visiting. Yeah,
and they're going to give us some business tips throughout the podcast as well. And I'm so excited that, we're partnering up with people that believe in the same things we believe in.
Yeah, no doubt. That's pretty exciting. So anyway, Schedulicity, once again, big shout out to you, and
thank you for joining
your day off. Silly. Hey, welcome to your day off. My name is Corey. Of course, I sit with my best bud, Tony. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, homie? Hey, and it's funny because I think our listeners are probably like, man, he says this every time, but I am pretty stoked about our guest today. And, when we get into it, you'll learn it's kind of a small world, right? Because you run across people, especially, we've been doing this for a year now. We just celebrated 1 year. Boom. And some of the details of these individuals' lives, the people who've impacted, then later in the podcast, or interviews, we interview other people and they had a big to do in their life. And we didn't realize it until we interviewed them. Right. So, I'm pretty excited because we've done interviews with people that he's helped, and we've done interviews with people who have helped him, or
at least full circle, right?
Yeah. It's kind of weird, right? But, anyways, instead of me talking about him as a mystery guest,
guy,
right? You want to go ahead and introduce him?
Yeah, I think so. So, on today on the podcast, we're talking to Kelly Cardenas, and Kelly Cardenas is he's kind of a big deal in the Paul Mitchell world, apparently. So
it's a cool name. I was telling him earlier. It seems like just a rough name, like Kelly Cardenas. I know, right? You got to answer to Kelly Cardenas.
I love it, man. I love it. It's so cool.
Yeah, right.
Well, let's bring him in, man. Let's get it before mob boss kills us or something.
Right.
So, Mr. Kelly Cardenas, welcome to your day off.
Welcome to you guys. I tell you, it's funny that you say that about my name, because I used to get beat, not beat up physically, but I used to get abused because Kelly wasn't that popular of a name, and it sounds. I think it's a guy's name, but they used to give me the challenge that it was a girl. So,
one of my good buddies, his name's Kelly, and him and I, we barbecue together. I have a kind of a barbecue competition team. So in the summertime, him and I, we go compete, and great guy. Anyway, his name's Kelly as well.
Do you guys do ribs? You guys do chicken? What do you do?
Oh, we do. It's 4 meats. You got to do brisket, pulled pork, ribs, and chicken. You got to compete in all 4.
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't do those.
Yeah, this is a vegetarian over here. My buddy here, Corey.
But I love portobellos, man. Don't hate my portobellos.
I'm not hating. I like them too.
So what's up, Kelly?
I'm just chilling, man. I'm so excited to be here with you guys. I'm excited to be home. I live in the best place in the whole entire world, I believe. And I missed my flight, not missed my flight, but they canceled it last night out of Fort Myers, Florida. And now I get to be home and get to be with you guys. So they couldn't be better.
Where is that?
I'm in Carlsbad, California. It's right next to heaven.
That's where Dave Turner he lives, right?
He's in Carlsbad?
Yeah. Is that close to San Diego?
Yeah, it's North County, San Diego. It's the part of San Diego people don't talk about, and I realized why is because people don't want the people that live here don't want people to live here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They keep it this little secret. It's this little pocket. We live 2 blocks from the water. My wife wanted to raise the kids by the water, and it is like, seriously. It's like the Truman Show in our neighborhood too. Like kids like singing and dancing and different oxygen pumped in. I was scared of it at first, but I'm loving it now. So
Did you guys have a fire there 3 or 4 or 5 years ago?
yeah, it came close, man.
Because he was on his balcony. He was showing a video of the fire from his balcony or wherever he lived in Carlsbad. And
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that is crazy.
That's crazy, isn't it?
It's scary.
My wife gives me a hard time because she called me. I was working in our Vegas salon at the time. And she's like, hey, what should I do? Should I shut down the salon? And I was like, do you see fire outside the door? She said, no. And I said, then keep doing hair.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, luckily you're only 2 blocks from the water, so you can run to the water, right?
Yeah. What I found too, man, is they're definitely going to save the coast. They ain't. I mean, California ain't going to let the coast part. They might let some inland stuff burn, but they ain't going to let the coast burn. So as long as you stay near there, you're safe. So
that's awesome. So Kel, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Lompoc, California. Big shout out to Lompoc. Whoa, whoa.
Whoa.
Never heard of it.
No, exactly. That's how I'm trying to put it on the map, man. It's a cool town. It's about 35,000. But I tell you, I mean, growing up there, all my buddies that I've had, that's why I was, it's cool to know that you guys knew each other since high school, because all my buddies and I still hang out from 4th and 5th grade. There's about 15 of us deep. And, we still hang out to this day. So no matter what I ever accomplish in my whole life, they always say, I don't care what you do. You're still that knucklehead, flat-headed, big bobblehead kid that we used to hang out with. So it just keeps you humble. You know what I mean?
You're still that dude named Kelly.
Yeah. But now I'm a cartel boss. And so I just want to, as many times as we can say Lompoc in this podcast, let's just do it.
Lompoc, California.
Yes.
Lompoc reppin'.
That's awesome. So tell us, about Lompoc and kind of, growing up in Lompoc all the way up until till when you decided, I guess I read once that 13 years old, that's when you kind of fell in love with hair.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my dad was in the military, and so I had to do this, and I practiced it in one breath. So I'll get it to you in one breath, right? I was born in England, moved to Taiwan, Idaho, Utah, Florida, California, Memphis, California, Las Vegas, back to California. So Lompoc was in the middle of that, but I spent a lot of the time in there, and it was a military base. So there was a lot of people coming in, a lot of people coming out. And, where I really I fell in love early, but I didn't fall in love with the hair cutting. I fell in love with getting my hair cut. I got to go to this guy. His name was Jerry. You guys probably still remember your first barber or haircut or whatever, but it was that haircut that I loved. And my dad took us to the base barbershop, and this dude named Jerry hooked me up, and he gave me a flat top, hardest haircut in the whole world. That's what we were talking about earlier.
Nope.
And I fell in love with the feeling of doing this, like touching my head with a flat top and that fade on the side.
Right.
And after that, my dad used to give me $5. I used to have to ride. It was about 2.5, 3 miles on my bike to go to the barbershop, but he'd give me $5. And I would get $4 for the haircut. And it was, I would do $4 and then I'd give him $1 tip. So I felt like a cartel mob boss at the time. I was like, yo, here's a little something extra for you.
20%.
Yeah, got you. So but it was cool, man. I mean, there was such a eclectic mix of guys that I still hang out with. So everyone was from everywhere. Like we mixed the nationalities. So we called, like, one of my friends is Blackanese. His dad is black and his mom was Japanese. We had what we call clack, which was Canadian and black. We had, I'm half Mexican and half white, and people are like, white is not a nationality. I was like, my mom is from Utah, has blonde hair, blue eyes. That's white. You know what I'm saying? So, growing up in that arena, it was so good because we had all different types of food, all different types of cultures, and being on the military base, you constantly had people coming in. And so you had to learn how to be able to be in a different spot, and understand and know that. And also too, we moved every 2 years to a new residence. And so I had to be the new kid all the time, which me and my brother really reveled in. And it helped me to be a hairdresser years later because, you had to instantly connect with people right off the bat, which was awesome. So, but I think what really shaped me though was the worst haircut that I got. And we all had those. I went to that same barbershop. Jerry was my guy. He used to hook me up with the Brian Bosworth lines. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know, so I was doing that, and I went, and barbershop, you know, you pull the ticket and you wait, and you got the number. Well, that number kept flipping, but there was no one in the barbershop. So I'm sitting and I'm waiting, and those numbers are flipping, and it turned into like a movie. Like I heard the horror music, you know what I'm saying? And it was coming, and my number was next, and Jerry had just started a haircut. And I was like, damn, like, what do I do? I'm only in 4th grade. Like you know, I don't know what to do. And it's kind of like that feeling. You ever have your mom have you in the grocery store, and she tells you you're in line at the grocery store, and she's like, oh, I forgot something. And she leaves you.
Yeah,
you don't have any money. And you're just thinking, oh my God, I'm sweating. I don't know what I'm going to do. What's this lady going to do? So this number is going slow. And then it finally flips over, and it's my number. And I swear to you on my life, I took the number, put it underneath my leg, and I acted like it wasn't me. And I was the only dude in the barbershop. So this dude rolls up on me. He's like 50 years old, right? And 50 at that time is old. Now 50 now, I'm thinking that's the new 19.
Right.
But this dude is 50 years old, standing over the top of a 10-year-old, and he comes over. He's like, number 48. And I was like, I just started to act like I didn't see him. He got right in my face. He was like, number 48. Are you number 48? And I was like, yes, sir. And he's like, well, you're next. Go ahead and hop in the chair. And I was like, I'm waiting for Jerry. And I swear to you, he stood over me like a stripper. And he was like, what, you think I can't cut your hair? And I was like, and I tell you, I wish that I would have been like that guy. Like that would have been that defining moment. I would have stood up, popped him in his jaw, and ran out. But I went out like a little sissy. And I tell you, I put my tail between my legs. I sat in that chair and got the worst haircut. He gave me a flat top. Right? So he gave me a flat top right down the center and left it long on the side, so I looked like an owl. so my brothers called me Woodsy for like 8 weeks, man. It was awful.
Oh man. That's
After that
funny.
experience, how in the world are you in the industry, man?
Well, my dad bought dog clippers, man. And so we had a Cocker Spaniel, and he bought dog clippers and thought we would shave the dog to save money. Because my dad I don't know if you guys have this dad, or you might be this dad, but my dad is like, you know, when I would want a Western bacon cheeseburger, he'd be like, Western bacon cheeseburger, that costs like $1.99. I can make that at home for like 70 cents. And then he would take us home and barbecue a hamburger and put some barbecue sauce on it. And he would be like, see, it's the same. And I'd be like, Dad, it don't taste nothing like a Western bacon cheeseburger. And he did that same thing with shaving the dog. We got it groomed one time, and I don't know how much it cost at the time, but he was like, man, we could do this on our own. So we went and bought dog clippers and was like, we're going to shave our dog because we don't need to do that. We can do it on our own. We tried it one time. We didn't chain the dog up either. We told it to sit and then took the clippers to it, and the dog just ran off. And me and my brother would laugh, and then we were like, what do we do with these clippers? We put them up underneath the cabinet, never touched them. About a year and a half later, my brother, it was either get a haircut because I needed one by my brother who never cut hair before, or my mom who used to give that finger thick monkey haircut. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Where your mom would just put her hands all over your head and you would look like a manchichi.
Nope. I have plenty of those.
So I let my brother do it. My oldest brother was in the back watching and laughing, but I was thinking I either take this haircut or take a beating. I took the haircut, and then that brother who cut me became a lawyer. The brother who was laughing watching me became a doctor. And guess what? I became the hairdresser. So.
That's awesome. So Kelly, when did you start school? Like hair school? Did you go to school? Did you do an apprenticeship? How'd you get into the industry?
No, I went to, it was in 1993. I went to Santa Maria Beauty College. Represent, whoop, whoop, right outside of Lompoc. But I was cutting hair in the kitchen, man. And my mom was like, why don't you go to school for that? Because I was cutting hair, like, you know, after my brother cut my hair, I started cutting hair, and I was playing basketball, football, baseball. So I was the only one on a team with clippers. So I would fade everybody up. And that was the difference between, you guys know, we're in the same generation. Like if you had a nice fade, like that Color Me Bad fade, you got all the ladies. But if you had that crusty fade, then no ladies was trying to talk to you.
Yep.
You know what I mean? People, it's so funny because nowadays people are like, oh yeah, I did this tight fade and a hard part. And I'm like, yeah, that was Color Me Bad back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Like I saw that already. But you know, we were doing that basketball, football, baseball. So I was the only one fading. And then I was cutting in my mom's kitchen, and my mom was like, why don't you go to school for that? And I thought, I don't got anything else to do. My brother was going to help me with community college at the time. And I went, and I went for the interview, and they told me it's going to be 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for 10 months. And I thought, you are crazy. I am not going to another year of high school, man. And I was on the way home, and that's when, God spoke to me and asked me, like, if you go to community college for the next 10 months, at the end of the 10 months, what you're going to have? And then he asked me, what are you going to have after 10 months of going to hair school? And he answered, and he said, a license. And when he said that, then my dad had taught me that he would support me 100% in anything that I did, as long as I did it to the best of my ability. So at that time, like, I just turned it off and just went all in. And so you can imagine at that time in 93, it's not that popular for a guy to be a hairdresser. So I was actually working in a automotive shop at the time, changing oil. And I started taking Vogue and Glamour magazine, putting it in Popular Mechanics, and acting like I was reading Popular Mechanics, but I was reading about women and what they like with their hair. And, and I didn't tell any of the garage guys. When I left, I told them I can't work anymore. I've got to go to school. And they're like, what you going to school for? I was like, I didn't tell them.
Right.
So.
That's pretty awesome, actually. That's a great story, especially when you went back. You said, with all the fades, like one with the clean fades, you got the girls. I'm like, you're giving everybody these clean fades. Who's fading you? Jerry's buddy, right? Jerry's coworker.
Well, what's that old story?
Come on,
what's the old story? There's two barbers in town. You always want to go to the guy with the bad haircut, right? You want to go to the barber with the bad haircut because,
right? The guy with the good haircut.
Right, exactly.
Whatever.
It was cut by the other dude, right?
Right.
Whatever. We'll mess that up.
We always do.
That's the story of what we do, man. We mess it up. So that's all. So, Kel, when did you start working in salons and stuff?
Well, when I got out of school, I had never been in a salon. Like, my mom had gone to salons, but I had never been to a salon. I had only gone to the barbershop, and then once I started cutting my brother's hair and my friends and stuff, I actually learned how to fade, which most barbers do. They learn how to fade themselves in their own mirror. And so I was doing that. And
I'm always astonished by that, by the way.
Oh, 100%.
It's awful. Like nowadays they have that. Have you seen that stick-on mirror cape that they have that you shave your beard, you don't get hair all over the place?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we didn't have anything like that. I was just getting that. Like I was here with the mirror and doing all this stuff. And, but I had never been in a salon, man. And I graduated from hair school. My brothers, my dad got a job out in Memphis, and they invited my brothers to come and get in-state tuition and go to the University of Memphis out there. Well, I was the youngest brother, so I was moving too. So I had got my license 4 days before in California, and then I was moving to Memphis. Well, my plan was I was working with a guy, give a shout out to Juan Dior. Juan Dior is this dude is OG. He came to my beauty school, and I got a chance to go to a 2-day hands-on class with him. And well, to help you to understand how I got to go there, they came and they said they were going to do this 2-day hands-on class. And it was $99. Well, at the time, my mom was the only one working in our family. She was making $200 a week under the table. So $800 a month. And our rent payment was $700. So she had to do all the rest with $100. And I went home like the ungrateful kids that we are when we're young, because we just think that money is plentiful everywhere. And I was like, Mom, I want to go to this class. So my mom didn't tell me, hey, you need to understand finances, and I'm only making $800 and I've got this. She said, okay. And she started saving. And for 6 weeks, she saved every penny she could and got me that $99. And I got to go to a hair show, or go to the class with Juan Dior for 2 days. And at the end of the time, they put all the names of the attendees in a hat. And he said, I'm going to draw that name out the hat. And whoever gets drawn gets to come to the Long Beach Hair Show and assist me on stage. And I was like, and my name got drawn. And dude, this was crazy, because this was right when Snoop's CD came out. So Long Beach was like, that record store where he did his first video on.
Yep.
Like we got to see that, but I didn't have any money either. So, and I didn't have a car. So one of the girls in school, she got picked too. And we got in her Monte Carlo, like 76 Monte Carlo, like 5 other girls and myself. We got a 1-room hotel in Long Beach in the ghetto. And all of us stayed in there. And then we went to the hair show. And when I got there, like, I was like, yes, we're going to be on stage with Juan. And I swear to you guys, the stage was that high. I swear. The stage was like 3 inches off the ground, and it was like 8 foot by 10 foot. And he said, we're going to get models. And I was like, yes, because as a young kid, you're thinking, I'm going to be working with models. And I was like, how do we get models? And he's like, you just walk out and talk to people and ask them if they'll get their hair cut. So I had to walk around the Long Beach Hair Show. And this is the greatest opportunity of my lifetime. And so I'd walk around and I'd see a woman and I'd be like, yo, can you, can we cut your hair? Juan Dior, he's an international artist, all these things. And then I'd take them and we had to shampoo them in the bathroom of the convention center. And I had to literally straddle over the top like that barber did to me when he said. So they were sitting in a chair sideways, and then I'd have to stand literally over the top of them and in the sink and shampoo their hair, and then bring them out to Juan. He would cut them, and when we got done, he was like, "Hey, here's another opportunity. If you can make it to Sacramento, we've got another hair show in Sacramento in like 3-4 months. If you can make it there, we'll get you a place to stay." And that kind of jumped me off in my career itself. This was before I had ever even been in a salon.
He's following Juan around like the dead, right?
Did you have the infamous dreads?
No, man. I had I think at the time, which was so silly because I still get mad at my buddy Dale Shell. Shout out to my buddy Dale Shell. He had a wedding while I was in hair school, and he didn't invite me to his wedding. Or he didn't invite me to be in the wedding. And I was like, man, I can't believe it. But now I look back on it, I had just got into that hair school side, which hopefully you guys did too.
Yeah.
I had them bleach my hair and then do it orange. And then for some dumb reason, I had them take and outline just my hairline with black. and then
like a pumpkin.
And then, it gets worse. And then take like all my I'm lined up in black with the orange shaved head. And then I had them take and make a swirl on top of my head in the black. And,
you have pictures?
Please have pictures.
I'm going to send you a picture of this. Well,
hold on. I'm definitely posting it if you send it.
Oh, I want you to. I mean, it is awful. And it helps me to understand. Dale Shell, I understand why you didn't have me in your wedding. I mean, if I would have been at his wedding, it would have ruined his life. Like his wife would have probably divorced him. You know what I'm saying? I
hope they're still married.
They are still married, but she was my 7th grade girlfriend, so she was mine before she was yours, Dale. What?
Whoa, dog.
I'm just joking. He knows. He's like 6'6", and he would kill me. So that's my boy right there. So he's a gorilla.
That is funny. So did you make it up to Sacramento?
I did. At that Long Beach show, it was crazy because I had a administrator in school tell me that if you do anything in your entire career, follow this woman. She showed me this picture of this blonde-headed woman. And I had no idea who anyone was. So she showed me, and I was like, cool, I'll go and find her. So when I did that first show in Long Beach, I looked for a woman with blonde hair. Well, I saw her on stage, and she had a stage partner, and he was super charismatic. He was talking about everybody. He wasn't talking about himself, and he was just he was gangster, and I just stayed with him. I had no idea who he was, and I'll tell you who he is later on. But I did go up to Sacramento, and I thought, man, I'm going to be at the Ritz-Carlton. I didn't know what the Ritz-Carlton was, but I thought I was going to be staying in a nice hotel.
Right.
And so I'm up there. I drive up. There's no GPS at this time for you millennials. I mean, I just drive up like he didn't even have a car. My brother drove with me to San Francisco in his car and then said, you could drive to Sacramento. So I drive to Sacramento by myself. I get down there, have no maps, no nothing. And I don't know still to this day how I found them, but I find them. We set up the show the day before, and then I'm like, yeah. And he's like, we got a place for you to stay. I'm like, cool. So he's got 2 girls with him, and then him and Joshua, which shout out to Joshua. This dude was phenomenal hairdresser, helped me to be able to cut hair. And he, the girls go and they kind of split off. They're like, oh, we're going to our hotel. I'm like, cool. So we're going to our hotel. We walk up, no lie, out to the parking lot. They've got an RV like in the parking lot.
What?
That's your hotel?
Like an RV, and not a big RV. I'm talking about one of them like vans with the little thing over the top of it. You know what I'm talking about? And we get out.
Pop top? Is that a pop top?
And I see it, and I'm like, I think we're going to drive to no, they're like, okay, so we're just staying here. So me, Joshua, and Juan stay in this motorhome in the parking lot of the Sacramento Hair Show. And so I did that. And I had learned how to sell. They taught me how to sell because I was selling. There was Juan Dior International. So we were selling shampoo, conditioner. We had some spray.
Sound like you were part of a hustle.
Oh, dude, I was in.
Like open up the front, right?
And I was learning cutting, and I was selling the razor. I was selling all this stuff. And at the end, man, it was crazy because they were like, hey, here was your sales for the day. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. Awesome. And they're like, here's 10% of it. And I was like, what? 10%? Like, I mean, I got nothing. And I mean, I'm thinking, man, I'm rich. And then they said, there's another opportunity. And I was like, oh, cool. What is it? And they said, well, it's on May 23rd. It's it's at the Disneyland Convention Center. And if you can make it down, you could work with us again. And I was like, but I didn't tell them that May 23rd was my birthday. And, you know, and I was like, man, and I didn't tell them that I didn't have a car that could make it there. So I went home and I just said yes. And I went home and I figured out my buddy Casey, shout out to him. He had a Honda Civic at the time. And I have a 63 Impala, which I still have. It's my dad bought it for me when I was in high school, but it couldn't make it to LA. And so I traded him my 63 for his Civic for the weekend. And he let me drive down there. And I spent my birthday, my 19th birthday, first birthday I ever spent on my own, but I spent it in the hotel and no one knew. And then I did the hair show because this is what I wanted to do.
That's awesome.
That is funny, incredible. I mean, it's all of it. You know what I mean? It's that's pretty impressive.
So you didn't have to stay in an RV when you were at Disney?
No, I stayed in Motel 6. You know, I moved up in the world, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I stayed at Motel 6 by myself. It was scary too, man, because, you know, I mean, we grew up early. We grew up fast, you know, as me and my brother and stuff. But, you know, I'm 18 at the time, 18, just about to turn 19. I'm in LA, which I had never, I mean, well, it's Anaheim. It's not LA, but, you know, it's in that area and by myself. And I have to go and get the hotel. And there's no I don't have a credit card at this time. I don't know how the hell I got there. You know, I guess Jesus took the wheel. That's what it was. You know what I mean?
He sure did, didn't he?
Wow, that's. I mean, you knew what you wanted and you went for it. You know, that speaks volumes.
Thank you.
You know, a lot of times people see the roadblock and they're like, "Oh, that's too hard. I can't get there." You know what I mean? You figured it out. You're like, oh, "Yeah, okay, I'm there. I'll sleep in an RV."
Kelly, was it from a place of like, I really want to be in this world, I really want to do hairdressing, or was it from a place of like, if I don't do this, I don't know what else I'm going to do?
No, it was that. It was the second. You know, I never wanted to be a hairdresser, man. I didn't know what it was. I never wanted to cut hair. The only reason why I cut hair is because it got longer. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like I don't have that inspiring story, but the principles that my parents instilled in me from a very early age was if you do something, do it to the best of your ability. Don't compete with anybody else. Because my brother was the standout in everything. He was the top rated quarterback in the southern section of California, one of the top rated. You know, he was the guy. He was a sweetheart in our town. Like, you know, and I didn't have my thing. I didn't have any of those things. And my parents never had me compete. And they never had me compete against my brother or told me, you need to be like your brother. They said, we want you to be exactly who you are. And that's what my mom always said. My mom always said, just be Kelly and everything's going to be cool. But what I did is I took and I just applied the principles because I believe that principles are like they're universal. And so I just applied the principles to the opportunity that I had. Some people saw that opportunity as adversity, but for me, like adversity it was just my life. So it was just always like, you know, there was, hey, here's this opportunity for me to drive 40 miles each way to my high school. Awesome. Right. Here's this opportunity for me to move every 2 years from the time I was born until the time I was 28 years old. Opportunity. Here's this opportunity, you know, for me to, you know, right before my senior year, for my dad to pack up all of our belongings, drive into town with no job and not know where we're going, and then sleep on other people's floor right before I was about to be a senior in high school and basically just live out of other people's houses. But I saw it as an opportunity to be able to galvanize some things, put some things together and create strength because I knew that there was more adversity that was to come, which would end up becoming opportunity if I saw it that way.
That's pretty inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you're speaking home to me. I mean, I can relate to a lot of things that you're going through, but that's, I mean, the way you looked at it, and the way I looked at it was a little different. So I wish I looked at it through the way you looked at it. I just got angry,
right?
You know,
like defeat it instead of inspired.
Yeah, I was just angry. But anyways, that's a whole different story.
That's
It's not about
a
me.
whole
It's
nother
about-
podcast.
it's all about you, Kelly. You know what I mean? That's so being able to see things like that, through your struggles, is you're able to help other people when they're going through it to kind of shed light. You know what I mean? That's much
a gift,
respect,
man.
man.
Just a
Much
gift.
love, man. That's hard to do.
Thank you. I think a big shout out goes to my big brother, Rob. And, he's one of the top attorneys in Las Vegas now. This guy graduated from the top of his class, at University of Memphis, 6 straight semesters with a 4.0. And, and when I asked him why he went to law school, he's like, because I could, and we didn't come from much. He was the first person to go to college in our family. But shout out to my brother, because when we were growing up, if my parents were fighting or there was adversity, what my brother would do physically, he would literally physically and literally throw me into my room and tell me to play. And then he would go out and deal with my parents fighting or the adversity that we were dealing with. So he almost created this bubble for me. And, he threw me into the room, and then sometimes he would go out and step in between my mom and my dad, fighting. And I never saw that. So I saw the life through this lens of, oh, wow, our family is in this place or that place. And it was a good thing. And then he did it. I don't know. I'm going to ask him this, Rob. I think you did this. But when I got into beauty school, you know how it is. Like, you guys snap on each other, right? Like, you guys give each other a hard time. Like, you got a big old head, or,
Right.
why you looking like you're from Duck Dynasty, or,
Say it all the time.
Uncle Si, you know what I mean? Get your teeth. So we would be snapping on each other.
Listen, baby fresh.
Yes, I love it.
Listen, baby fresh. Don't leave it to nobody.
Look, don't make me get up and up rock real quick. Get it down.
Really get into that too.
No, but we used to snap on each other. You know what I'm saying? And nothing was off limits. I'm saying, like, if your mom had just gone through something, people be like, yeah, but my mom didn't do that. Like, and we were okay in our friendship. But I tell you, I think my brother pulled all my friends aside when I went to hair school and said, you could bag on anything, but that's off limits. And no one touched it. Like, no one touched it. Because in that generation, us growing up, you wore a pink shirt. People were like, yo, what you trying to do? It wasn't accepting like it is today. And there wasn't as much education. But I tell you, not one of my friends ever snapped on me as far as hairdressing. And there's a lot to do that in that time. And I think my brother pulled them all aside and let them know this is off limits. You could bag on him about how big his head is, because my head is huge. It's been this size. It's been this size since I was baby fresh. Which I still, I got to show you something real quick, but you don't even know, right? Here it is right there. You can see it. That's a sash that says the Dab Master from the Daddy-Daughter Dance. So I'll just go ahead and put that bad boy on right now, because Baby Fresh is alive and kicking. Right?
I like it.
So I don't even know that was coming out, but I believe that he did that, and he pulled him aside, and he's not a big guy. Like, my brother's probably 5'7", 5'8", but on all of our buddies were huge, like 6'6", 6'5", 6'4", all these things. But I believe he pulled him aside and said, look, this is something you do not touch. And I believe that he told them to support me, and all of them were like, you're the greatest, you're going to be the best hairdresser ever. So I had 15 dudes that had never been around a hairdresser telling me that I was going to be the greatest and pushing me towards it, lending me their car, driving me to school. One of my buddies, Johnny, shout out to Johnny, he used to wake up every morning and drive me 25 minutes to hair school when I didn't have a car.
Wow. Why do you think your brother did that?
I think because he loves me. And I mean, him and I are like, he's my best friend in the whole world. This dude is, I mean, if you meet him, I mean, you guys should, even though it's a hair, I know you guys do hair stuff, but this guy is, I mean, he's been through it. And I just believe it's because he loves me, man. And I feel, I try and talk to him all the time, and try and stay in touch with him. And he really is my rock, man. I mean, we just lost, just recently, in June 19th, actually, my mom passed away. And,
brother.
and, I've got my pop, my pop is strong. But my brother, man, my brother Rob is my rock. And, he's always been my foundation. So
you can just see how his face lights up.
I know, it's amazing, right?
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I have 2 brothers, and I'm the oldest, and I can relate, that brotherly love. 100%, man.
All right, so we've teased everybody, dude. You got to tell them why you're baby fresh.
Oh man. Well, back in the day, I was a breakdancer. This was
Get
when
outta here.
there was only 4 moves. You know what I'm saying? Like you had 4 moves. And
What were they?
well, I mean, I had my windmill. My windmill was smooth though.
Uh-huh.
It was smooth. You had windmilling. You had your groundwork. I could swipe, right? And then my move that would cut everybody up because we would have competitions. But I had 2 things. My windmill would kill them, and then my floating would kill them, right? And so, you would have that little like all the way through, like, like that kind of stuff, But that was traditionally, I mean, when you were battling, most of the time, you weren't battling with people as light-skinned as me. And so when we would go in, you would have your breakdancing name because you didn't use your own name, and you would be at the youth center. And there was always the crew, and they were a little bit tanner than me, and they would always go after, like, oh, we got the white boy. And they would get the white boy, and then they get tore up. And when they got tore up, all their boys would be like, you got beat up by little whitey, And so it was a thing that I always gravitated towards. Like Breakin' was one of the first movies I saw, and I loved it. I was in it. I'm a hip hop head from the old school. Like I grew up on that, Michael Jackson, soul music, all that. So, one of my friends asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, and he's like, "What do you ultimately want to be?" And I was like, "A Southern black preacher." You know what I mean? but what sucks about that is I told my buddy, and he's actually a Southern black preacher. His name is Dale Jones. So I was joking with him, and I told him. He took me to his church, and he's like, "Hey, I want to introduce you. This is Kelly. He's a educator. All this stuff with hairdresser and all these things." And everyone was like clapping for me. And then he's like, and he wanted to be a Southern black preacher, and it was an all black church. And everyone was like, "Whoop!" Like, and then they came up to me afterwards, and they're like, "Thank you so much for being here. It's so good to see you. And about that other thing, we'll pray for you." Breakdancing name from the old school, though. That's funny. How'd you get that one? How'd you know that one?
Baby fresh. What's up, people, man? We got our ways. Right.
Well, Corey used to rap.
No,
there we go. You used to rap?
No, him.
You used to rap too? Give me a rap. Give me one, Tony. Give me.
Oh man.
Give me one.
I came to the door. I said it before. I never let the mic magnetize me no more. But it's a bite of me, to fight of me, to write of me, to rhyme. I can't hold it back. I'm looking for my line, taking off my coat, clearing my throat, and the rhymes will be kicking in until I hit my last note.
Yeah. Yes. I just want to pop some champagne.
I was hoping you were going to dance.
No, man.
Or beatbox or something.
The last time I tried, because my brother would always, my older brother snapping on me all the time. And he's always like, "Oh, yo, baby fresh, baby fresh." Well, I was over his house one time, and I was like, because you still think your body is where your mind's at, right? Oh. And I was like, I still got it. And I was like, I still got my windmill. And we had just done his floors. He had some, pergo floors. And dude, I got down on the floor, and I was like, I got this. And I went to windmill. Dude, I looked like a beach whale, just flopping and flailing. And he was like, "Man," he's like, "I've always been proud of you, but that's the only time I've ever been embarrassed of you."
That's just ugly. That's just ugly, Kelly.
I know how you feel.
That's like getting out of bed for me now.
So I go play ball for my 17-year-old son, and he's like, it was just like a little warm up for him. I'm like, oh man, I'm hurting for it. Take me a couple of days to recover.
And it's tough now with the internet. You're watching like James Harden do that step back, and I'm like, I got that. And then I go do it. I'm like, I ain't got that, man. I ain't got that.
100%.
Falls about 6 feet short of the rim. All right, Kel, we got to fast forward now. So how did you, so tell us about like your relationship with Paul Mitchell. How did that come about? Where did that start? How'd that relationship begin?
Well, that lady that I told you that the administrator showed me the picture of the blonde-headed lady, I went and saw her on stage at the Long Beach Hair Show. So in between getting models for Juan Dior, I saw this blonde-headed lady. She's working with this blonde-headed guy who's talking about everybody, and he's the man, and he's super charismatic. And I was like, dude, I love that guy. Like, I've never seen anything like that, and I've gravitated towards him. Well, I had no idea, but that was Robert Cromines, and the lady that she told me to follow was Jean Bra. So wow. I started following every hair show I could go to. I was going and I was watching, and I was gravitated towards Robert, and Jean was there, and I was following. I did exactly what I was told to do. That's what you did in the military family. And So fast forward, when I moved to Memphis after California, about 21 days, I'm hanging out, just doing my thing. And then I think I want to go to a salon. Well, I found this salon called Gould's, and they told me that I need to speak to Philip Gould. So I sit down in his office, and I'm 19 years old, and he's got like leather bound books looking like Ron Burgundy, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I sit back in the chair, and I'm 19, never had a job except a KFC. And he's like, what can we do for you? And I said, well, I'd like to be educated. I'd like to be an educator, but I had my legs crossed too. And I was leaning back in the chair like I was a pimp. And he said, I said, educator. I want to be a platform artist. I want to travel the world. I want to do hair. And if your company could do that for me, sir, I'd love it. But if not, I'd like it if you don't waste my time. And
No, you didn't.
I swear. And I was like sweating because I was thinking he was going to kill me. But I just thought, like, I don't know where I got that from, but I said it. And then he's like, well, we come to, it's great that you say that, because we trained one of the greatest platform artists in the history of the industry. And I was like, and then he told me the name. And at the time, I didn't know Robert's name. But he told me we trained Robert Cromies. And I was like, I don't know who that is, but if he's a platform artist, I'm in. So then they gave me the job. So about 2 months later, I open up an Modern Salon. There's a 4-page spread of that guy that I had been following for 2 years, didn't know his name. And it said Robert Cromies. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's the guy that worked for Gould's in Memphis, the one that I'm starting at. So I started at the same salon that Robert Cromies started at in Memphis, Tennessee.
That is pimp. Right?
100%.
That's pretty awesome, man.
So I followed his career for 2.5 years. And I told you guys earlier, man, I forced people to be my friend. And I sat in the front row. I went to every hair show that I possibly could. I sat in the front row, and after they got done, there's people that linger. I was always that guy lingering and said, my name is Kelly Cardenas. I want to work with you someday. And then I got the opportunity to go to Oklahoma City because JC Meehan, shout out to him. He told me, I got an opportunity for you. I can't pay you. I can't do anything, but I could get you backstage with Robert if you want, but it's in Oklahoma City. But I was living in Memphis, so it's like 10 hours drive. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have enough money to fly. So I worked on Saturday, drove 10 hours, got there at like 4 in the morning, and then got to model call at like 6. But in the mirror, I had put a big old name tag, and I wrote it in big Sharpie. It said Kelly, but I forgot about it throughout the day. So when I was working with Robert, by the end of the day, he was like, Kelly, can you go do this? Kelly, can you go do this? Kelly, can you do this? And I was like, I made an impression. I'm on my way. And then I went up to him afterwards. I said, how can I work with you, sir? And he said, you could pack your stuff up and you can move out to California. You could do exactly what we tell you to do. If you do it and you do it well, then you could stay. And if not, you could pack your shit up and go back home. And I was like, I'm in. And then I got back to my hotel and I realized he didn't remember my name. It was just a big, stupid name tag. And he took my card. I gave him my card. He took my card and he put it in his pocket. He went home to his wife, Margaret Cromie, and shout out to her. He told her, call this guy. I can't remember his name, but his name is in my coat pocket. Well, they're from Scotland. She picked the card out. And when she picked the card out, she saw Kelly. She thought Kelly was a girl, so she threw it on top of the armoire. It sat there for a year. And for a year, they didn't call me. I was waiting on the call. And for a year, they didn't call me. But what was great about it is God was able to get me ready in the 4 pillars that we work with in our salon now, personally, professionally, spiritually, and financially. He was able to take those pillars, set them in place, and get me ready to be able to leave my family. And over the course of that year, he did that. And then, a year later, I gave him my card in Atlanta. And, it was September 19th, God told me that my job was over in Memphis. And that was the first time God had audibly spoke to me. And he said, your job is over. And I was like, no, my job ain't over. My job is good. And then I heard it again. And then I heard it again. He told me 3 times. And I went home and my mom told me something that will stay with me forever. She said, start to praise him because praise unlocks blessing. God's in the midst of the praise of his people and to praise him in all things. And so I praised him that night for the confirmation that my job was over and I didn't have a job. So this is September 19th. October 7th at 11:30 at night, which was Memphis time, which is still 9:30 at night, West Coast time. I got a call from Margaret Cromies and asking me to be Robert's personal assistant, for which I never applied for. And God confirmed it at that time and took me out. And, but I did what everybody does, right? When God gives you like confirmation, I'm like, are you sure, God? Give me one more sign, you know?
Wow. That's amazing. That's, yeah, I think we're,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Right. That's really awesome. So how long, so then what? How long did it take you to get out to California?
Well, so I went out, I got that call and I was really excited. And, but I was 8 weeks solid booked in Memphis, Tennessee at the time. So I was 8 weeks solid booked on the 45-minute mark. And so with a 45 person waiting list. And so if I missed one day, it put me back 8 weeks. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I got the opportunity to go out. I went out for 2 days. I had to reschedule, people for 8 weeks. When I got out there, they, there was only one client in the whole salon. Only Robert was doing it. And I was like, I thought I was coming into a line down the street, this, huge thing. Cause Robert was the biggest thing to me. And I remember thinking right then, I was like, this is not what I came for. And then God asked me, if you had the opportunity to be in this spot, cause there was a bunch of people in the back room, all the rest of the stylists was in the back room. And there was like 12 chairs that were empty. He asked me, if you had this opportunity, would you ever be in the back room or would you be out in one of those 12 chairs sitting next to Robert and making sure everything that you could take out of this opportunity you took? And I answered that question. And then on the way home, I told God, I said, because they asked me, they told me about money. And at the time I was making $75,000 a year. I was living with my mom and I didn't have a bill in the world. I had a $151 car payment. That's all it. But I was living in Memphis with my mom. And they told me that you're going to be working 40 hours a week on salary for $200 a week.
Ooh.
And that's before taxes. And I was like, that's it. That's my confirmation that I'm not coming to California. And I remember driving home and asking God, you got to show me in black and white, God. You guys ever make a deal with God like that? Like if you let me dunk this time, then I'll follow you forever. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I made that deal. I said, if I see it in black and white, I will follow you. I'll do it. And I got home and I read, and it was actually in Exodus where Israelites were coming out of Egypt and God was taking them out of there, but he made them walk around in the wilderness for 40 years. And the people started murmuring, getting mad at Moses. And Moses started thinking, man, maybe they're right. And God said to Moses, I will redeem you without money. And as soon as I saw that in black and white in his word, because I thought I was getting off on a technicality because there's no San Diego in the Bible. There's no Kelly in the Bible. So I'm good. And I saw that. And right when I saw that, tears came down my face. And I called my mom and she's like, why are you just overwhelmed because God spoke to you? I was like, no, I'm overwhelmed because I'm broke now. Like I got to do this. Right. So you could imagine, I was making 75 here in Memphis, no car payment or just car payment, $151. I got the opportunity for $200 a week before taxes. So that's around $10,000, $11,000, $12,000. So I took a $62,000 pay cut at 21 years old to go and work with Robert in the first place.
Wow. That is definitely divine intervention because there's no way a 21-year-old going to take a $62,000 pay cut.
No way, right?
Yeah, you saw something that nobody else saw. You heard something that nobody else has heard. So how long did it take you to move out there?
Well, I got back and I did exactly what you guys would do. I ain't judging you, but you would have done it too. I got back and I was like, God, confirm it again. You know what I mean? I was like, are you sure you don't want me to stay here and make the 75? And God told me, he gave me a vision. He said, when you're born, you get a little glass. And in that glass, you put all your attributes. You put your accomplishments, you put all the things that you do, the things that you puff your chest out and you say, this is what I did. And that's what you walk around with. He said, you've got that glass that was issued to you when you were born, and that glass is full right now. He said, that glass is full and you can walk around and you can show everybody that and be excited about it. Or you could give me back that glass. I'm going to give you a big bucket. The bucket's going to be empty. But once I fill it, you'll never understand how much I could bless you. And, it was one of those kind of lessons that your dad teaches you where I knew that I had to take the bucket.
Right.
And I was like, but I like the glass a lot. And I tell you, like at that point, I knew it was like the right thing to do was take the bucket. So I put the glass down, I took the bucket, and man, he has overflowed. And since then, he's actually taken the bottom out of the bucket because he told me that he wants to flow through me to bless others. And he said, as soon as you put a cap on the bottom and start hoarding what you have, I'll stop blessing you. I'll keep blessing you as long as you take the bottom out the bucket, and whatever I bless you, you give away. So get a blessing, give it away. Get a blessing, give it away. Get a blessing, give it away. And he said, I'll consistently have fresh water running through your bucket and blessings through your bucket as long as you don't put a bottom on it.
Hey, I'm a believer. Boom.
Bye-bye.
That's pretty cool. So, so how long did it take you to get back out to Robert's salon? And then how long did you end up assisting him for?
So that was, it took me about, it was October. So it took about 2.5 months. And then I assisted him for 7 months, went on the floor for a year, and then got promoted to the director of the salon. And then 6 months later, they sent me to Mandalay Bay to open the flagship out there.
In the Mandalay Bay, that's where you met Elizabeth Faye?
Yeah, the Mandalay Bay was where Elizabeth Faye was.
So you weren't with him that long, and all of a sudden, you were promoted pretty high. I mean,
it went fast. It went fast, man. I mean, 7 months as an assistant was a long time because I had been styling before in my head. But, like I said, I went on the floor 1 year. 6 months later, they moved me to Vegas, and then I directed the salons for 10 years. I was with the company for 10 years total.
What do you think that they saw in you to move you along? I mean, both bringing you out from, nowhere to his salon, and then again, what did they see in you when they sent you over to Mandalay Bay? Is that a fair question?
Yeah. I would like it to be romantic and think that I was the man, but honestly, I think that I was the only one that was available. And when I say available, I think that there's so many people that squander their availability in life. And when they do this, what they do is they bring people or things into their life that cause them to not be accessible and available to whatever opportunities come. So when I say that, I was a young kid. I didn't have children. I wasn't married. I was talking with girls or whatever it was, but the only reason why I moved to San Diego was for Robert. So when they told me, hey, you're going to move into this director position, I was able to be nimble. Right. And then when they said you're moving to, Vegas, which literally he told me I was going to do it. And then he said, you're going to move out in 4 months. And then a week and a half later, he told me you're moving in a week and a half. So within 3 weeks, my life got turned upside down. But I think that people ask me this all the time. They're like, how do I get the job that I want? And what abilities do I need? And my dad always told me, you never need ability. You just need the availability to do whatever it takes to be successful. And I truly believe I'd like it to be romantic, like me be the man, but I was simply available to do whatever the heck he told me to do. And I was in,
We're going to steal that quote.
Available. I love it. I'm literally writing it down right now.
Yep.
That.
Thank your dad for that quote.
big shout out to Pops.
Thanks, Pops.
Thanks, Pops. That's cool. So then you're at Mandalay Bay, and how was it? Rebuilding your book. How was it? Managing people for the first time. What was that experience like?
It was it was crazy. When we got there at first, the hotel got delayed, so for 4 months we didn't have a salon. And Robert did a training the day I got there, right? So I got there at 3 o'clock in the day because I drove in from San Diego. So at 3 o'clock, I see him. I'm there with him for an hour. I go up to my hotel and then I go to dinner. I call his room the next day. There's no answer. There's no one under that name. So I checked the assumed names, everything like that, but they had left that morning. But we didn't have a training manual. We had nothing. He had just hired a bunch of people. And so I had to find a room for us to train the people. I had to figure out and make up the training. So what I did the first time I called the hotel, one of the executives, and I said, hey, we need a room. And she said, oh, no problem. And I was thinking, man, I know now I'm Mr. Cardenas. She's like, Mr. Cardenas, I could get you whatever you need. I was like, yes. So I go down there and she said, Mr. Cardenas, would you like to have lunch delivered to the room? And I was like, well, hell yes. I just moved to Vegas. This is my town now. So I'm in this room. I'm doing my thing. And I did the thing that my mom wouldn't be proud of. But they brought in this spread, sandwiches, you know what I'm saying? Drinks, cookies, big cookies. And while no one was watching, I took a couple of the sandwiches and I put them in my bag. And I put a couple cookies and I put a couple drinks because I didn't have enough money for room service. So I did that. And I get a call later that night. And it's Margaret Cromies. And she's like, what the hell are you doing? And I said, well, I'm training the staff and do whatever. She's like, no, what the hell are you doing? And I said, not much. And she's like, what'd you have for lunch? And I was like, oh man, they caught me on camera stealing this stuff. I'm going to lose my job. And I was like, I had this, I had that. And I was like, I'm sorry, Margaret, I took a couple of sandwiches. And she's like, that's not what I'm talking about. Do you know how much that lunch cost me? I was like, they called me Mr. Cardenas and asked me, she's like, Kelly, that was a $500 catering service that you ordered. So she's like, there's no more of that. So we had to find a distributorship. I found this distributorship. And so we go to this warehouse. It's in a complete industrial area. This guy gives me a 10 by 10 room to train the staff. I have them come every day for 4 months, dressed in black from 9. And I wouldn't let them leave till 5. Cause my dad always said, whatever a person's paying you, give them double the amount of service and you'll never be in their debt. So if you charge $45 for a haircut, simply give $90 worth of service. If you get $5 an hour, give them $10 an hour in service. And that way you'll constantly move as you go. So I was doing this and I was making stuff up. Literally, I was praying on the way there and I would set chairs up and have them run through obstacle courses, blow dry on one side. And then I'd be like, switch. And then they have to run over and flat iron on the other. And the way that we got clients was I sent them out into the community. And you can imagine, we're all dressed in black. And we go to grocery stores, we go to malls, whatever, and we approach random women and say, we've got a salon that's open at the Mandalay Bay. We don't have it open yet, but if you come to this warehouse, we'll do your hair for free if I could train my assistants. And shout out to this lady named Kelly. She still comes to this day. She was one of those ladies that I got to be a model. And now she not only comes, but her daughter is 22, 23 years old and is still a client of our brand, Kelly Cardenas Salon now.
Wow. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, that took guts.
You know what I mean?
Most women would be afraid, right?
Yeah. I mean, if someone approached my wife in a grocery store, like I'd be like, you better back that off.
Yeah. And if she went, I'd be like, what are you thinking?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because one of the ladies, she came and her husband dropped her off. And I was like, oh, because it was one of the ladies who worked with us. But I made them dress in black, wear full makeup, everything like that. Well, her man drops her off. And I was like, well, do you guys just have one car? She's like, no. I got dressed like this and my husband didn't think that I was going to a job. He thought that I was going out on him. So he's dropping me off and picking me up every day. So he knows where I'm at.
Yeah, that whole scene is, I don't know if you've seen there was everybody heard of the Purge, the movie, but there was a TV series and there was a bus full of people dressed in, it kind of reminds me of that. All you guys popping out of a bus and trying to bring people on this bus. And anyways, that's what I'm envisioning, right? All these people coming out of a warehouse trying to recruit you in.
So, when we opened at the Mandalay Bay, it was crazy because we opened to this hoopla, like Pavarotti was there. I mean, we had never experienced anything like this. I was in a walkthrough salon in San Diego, like in Pacific Beach. So we go to this hotel and I tell you, it was like taking candy from a baby. My first week on the floor there, I had done a $2,000 week on a $25 haircut. And that was the first person to do a $2,000 week. But I mean, that's hustling. But I went like Robert, when he asked me to go to Vegas, he's like, hey, you're going to be going to Vegas. He's like, how much you want to charge for a haircut? And I was like, I don't know. I couldn't think on my feet. So I said, let me pray about it. I went home. My God kept giving me my birthday and I was born in 1975. So I came back and I said, I'm going to charge $75. And he said, okay. I didn't think he was going to take it. So we open up and I was just at a $35 haircut like the day before. And now I'm at 75 looking at the guests. Like if you would have just came yesterday, you would have got half off. But I tell you that first week when you were asking how was it to build a clientele, it was like taking candy from a baby. I mean, this was 1999, the time of decadence. You know what I'm saying? Like the economy was starting to turn. Things were going, people were just slinging money. So, I mean, my first week out, although, I mean, I worked 7 days, but my first week I did more than I had ever done in my entire career. And, but what I did too early on is I cut myself off from walk-in business, and my boss was pissed because everyone was making a lot of money and I wasn't making that much. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to show my whole team that I wasn't going to ebb and flow with the seasons. I was going to go out and hustle my own business, and I was going to feed them first. And that's what one of the first things that I learned in leadership was, my dad, if he had $1, my dad was going to buy me a Big Mac, buy me the fries, and he was going to sit and watch me eat. And what he told me there was, I love you, and I will sacrifice whatever it is that I need to so you can eat. And that's what I did early on with my team. And it paid dividends in the end because I wasn't taking anything from them. I would never take a walk-in. I would never take anybody unless everyone was full. And I had to build my business by the hustle. And then my business was stabilized always. It never ebbed and flowed with the seasons like a lot of hairdressers.
So the first in Vegas, the first 4 months before the salon opened, you were on a salary?
Yeah, I didn't negotiate that either, right? So I didn't ask them what it was going to be before I went. So I got there, and I'm a believer, right? So I'm like I'm not talking about like my faith, but I'm just talking about a believer. Like, if you tell me Superman is outside and I go and see that Superman ain't outside, I'm going to be like, you're a liar. I'm going to say he left.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And so my Robert sent me, but I didn't ask him. I didn't negotiate anything. And they put me back on salary for $350 a week. And $350 a week and you ain't getting no tips. We were scraping, man. We were scraping.
Whoa.
Thank God you were in Vegas. In the sense, because imagine if you were back in California. We're high, New York, DC, whatever, high rent district. That'd be tough. So that first week, were you on commission or were you still on salary when you had the biggest day of your career?
That week I went on to commission, and that's been the great thing for me. That's what I love about the industry, is because I've never known how much I was going to make. But I look at it like this: I've never known how much I was going to make. Does that make sense? Like, I can make whatever I want. And so that's why commission has been so amazing to me.
Yeah,
Wow.
literally. It's up to you. You can make as much as you want to make, depending on how hard you want to work.
That's true, right? But what's funny is, like, sometimes that work isn't like slaying hairs. That work is like, now, it's social media and stuff. But when we were kids, man, it was like getting out there and hustling on the street.
Right, just building your clientele.
Exactly. So that's the hustle, bro. That's the hustle, man.
So you were with Robert Cromines for 10 years. When did you start your salon?
Well, this was April 2nd, 2006. So I got a call on a Monday. It was a national championship game. I was watching. It was a national championship basketball game, NCAA championship. We were watching that, and I had made a managerial decision, earlier that week, and this was Monday, so it was my day off. And they called me and told me, you don't need to come to work anymore. And so I was, God gave me peace at that time. I was completely peaceful. It was an amicable break. Everything was good. And I, like, later on, he gave me comedy about it right away, because I was like Craig from Friday. Like, I got fired on my day off. How you going to get fired on your day off? It really happened that way. And, but for me, what it was, I don't believe I ever would have left the company. I believe that it was God taking me out of that situation, and because there was something larger. There was something else that he wanted me to do. And I believe this to be true, that God told me early on, he told me my life's purpose, which is Romans 9:17. 9:17 says that for God put Pharaoh in this place, that when he spoke, that the people wouldn't hear Pharaoh's voice, that they would hear God's voice. And God told me that he was going to put me in a place that when I spoke, then people had to listen. And when they listened, they'd hear his voice and not mine. And if I ever got to the point where I thought they were listening to me and that I was the man, he was going to take every one of those blessings away. And I believe he gave me that, in 1997, he told me that. God gave me that. But I believe by the time I was done 10 years later with Robert, I believe that a lot of my focus became on the man, Robert Cromines, and not on God. And I don't believe that God was okay with that. And he took me out of that to help me to understand, like, I don't want you focused on any man. I don't want you to focus on any situation. I don't want you focused on your money. I want you completely focused on me, and I'll provide everything, because I've signed all the checks that you've got anyway.
Boom. Wow.
Yeah, it's funny because when we have your book, and thank you very much for it. So on one of the cards, I saw that verse, and I was like, oh, that's great. I thought it was so cool. And that's the exact verse you just gave us. That's a little postcard in the book.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Or was it written? It was handwritten, right? Yeah. Look.
Yeah.
Romans.
Hey, it was funny, man. My buddy Will, shout out to my buddy Will, my best friend since 4th grade. Him and I used to practice our signatures, probably like you guys did, just in case we got famous someday. We used to do this in 6th grade, and we would be like, do a signature, and we'd be like, nah, I don't like that one. Nah, I don't like that one. So I practice and practice and practice. And now, I mean, it's cool because, I mean, well, I wrote the book. I mean, I made that happen. It's kind of like in our salons. I saw a kid, he was like 9. I walked in the salon one time and he looked at me, he's like, wow, that's the guy on TV. And I was like, dude, that's my YouTube channel. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not on TV. You know, I put myself up there. So I had to tell him so.
That's pretty cool. So Cal, I mean, you know, since the salon and since you opened your salon, you know, you're kind of known as like a business manager or like a brand manager and stuff. So what does that look like for you? And like, how are you developing that?
Well, for me, I've really honed it into, I want to make hairdressers efficient. That's the main key and the one word that I want to make sure that every hairdresser understands and knows. I'm the guy that's going to help you to be more efficient with your time, with your hair cutting, with your color, with all those things. I believe that there's, you know, phenomenal artists, craft artists out there that, you know, I think one of the best hair cutters in the world is a guy named Brandon Dara. You need to have him on your show. Brandon Dara, he's the artistic director of Van Michael Salons. This guy is gangster, like one of the best hair cutters in the world. But I'm an efficiency guy. So what I do is whatever a person does that's great, because I don't believe I'm great. I just hang out with great people, but I take great people and then I break them down into 5, 6, 7 easy steps. So a 4-year-old could do it. And that way, what we do is we take the ego out of our business and we allow people to be themselves, as opposed to saying, look at this color that I did. You've got a 19-year-old that could do the same thing because he was standing in the same place with the same tool. So now we just get to be ourselves and we get to really pour in and fill up those guests, as opposed to them coming to see us. We're actually coming to see those guests.
What does that look like? What do you mean you kind of like, you pull the ego out? I mean, I guess I'm kind of lost in like what that looks like in the salon basis. In the salon basis.
So, I mean, we systemized everything, man, like from the beginning. Because what I wanted to do is I wanted to take, and most of the time when a client comes into the salon, if their hairdresser leaves, then they go with their hairdresser, which is normal. Right. But what I thought about is if I go to the grocery store and the same person checking me out isn't there, I'm not going to not buy my groceries. But what I wanted to be able to do is I wanted to be able to have a system within our place where we could have a common language. So we created a place, like 3 positions where you stand to cut hair, and they're all listed out. 3 arm positions that you'll use, 3 elevations that you'll use. And we even created a 4-set scissor system that all the people in our entire company throughout the country use. So that way, what I could say, I could call you up, you know, Corey, and be like, yo, I used a 70%er. I stood in a number 2. It was a medium elevation. And I used the chin as the guide. And that language would be able to translate from one of my salons in Chicago to all the way to Carlsbad or to Las Vegas, and you would have your formula in. And so I found that the more and more that we develop systems that help people to be successful, it helped them to be more efficient, which got them more clients, got them more money. Then I was able to manage the system and love the people. But I think that people flip that around. Most people love the system and they manage the people, but we love the system, or we love the people, we manage the system. And managing system is not emotional, right? So if I put a system in play and you know the system, I've communicated to you, and you are outside a system, I could simply manage the system, but I'm not attacking you personally. And that's where I think our industry, you know, that's the next level. That's where we go to the next level, is when we start to take the emotion out of it. It's a thing that Terry Cowan, shout out to her, is a thing called Q-tip, right? Q-tip. And if we could become Q-tip, which is quit taking it personal, Q-tip, right? It'll create efficiency.
I love that, man. I kind of want to learn the elevations and stuff now.
Right. Can you have a class near us?
Absolutely. We just had one in Marco Island, man. So I work with kids I tell you, like from all over the country, from 30 years in the business, 34 years in the business, all the way down to 4 months in the business. Within 3 hours, we had them all at the same level aptitude cutting hair, because we worked in system. And so I put the 2 haircuts next to each other, and the 2 haircuts were exactly the same, only after 3 hours.
Wow. That's incredible.
That's crazy.
I'm telling you, like, I have a girl that's 24 years old. Her name is Eli Winters, 24. Because of the systems and the efficiency that she has, and because she's gangster, before she had a goal before the end of the year, she did a $10,470 week in service.
Choo.
Wow.
At 24 years old.
Holy cow.
So, but when we break that down to system and common denominator, right, which is not something that a lot of times hairdressers want to go to as far as math, but if you break that down, that's nothing more than 47 guests at $222 average ticket. So she did 47 guests, which is 10 guests a day. Can you do 10 guests a day? Yes. Would you be willing to do that and stay a little bit longer if you could reap the benefits of the 10,400, but still give? And it's not about the money, but we just think of it as a score, right? So if you're playing a video game, you get a score. This girl, 24 years old. She just turned, I think she's just about to turn 25. Eli Winters in Chicago. And this was done in 1,100 square foot salon, no walk-in business.
That's impressive.
This is gangster. And this is what we're turning out. But what we're turning out is like I said, we want to help hairdressers to be efficient. That's what the book is about. Is I want to be able to say, literally, when you guys read the book, there's nothing in your life, whether it be with your marriage, your kids, your grandkids, anything like that. There is nothing that you will deal with, the challenge that you have, a goal that you have, that won't be able to be answered outside of those 6 indicators. There's nothing. And I've tested this. I wrote this after imploring it for 4.5 years in our businesses. So our businesses ran on this for 4.5 years. We saw the efficiencies happen, and then I wrote the book. So I didn't write a book on a theory and then try and work it. We did it backwards.
That's just brilliant, man.
All right. I'm going to start reading it tonight.
You're on it.
Hey, it's a hairdresser book. It's only 117 pages. You know what I'm saying?
Big type, small book. Good, man.
No, I'll be done.
6 words in the whole thing.
It'll only take me 2 months, but I got you.
Kelly, how many salons do you have nationwide, and where are they?
Right now we have 4. So we've got 2 in Las Vegas, 1 at the Hard Rock Casino. We've got Chicago, and we've got Carlsbad too.
How can people find this book?
KellyCardenasSalon.com. A lot of people have gone to Amazon, but if you've published a book before, you can respect this. With Amazon, you could do that. Come to KellyCardenasSalon.com. We'll get it to you. We'll ship it out to you very quick. It's the best way to be able to go.
That's awesome.
Dude, I'm so impressed, man. You know what I mean? I knew you were a cool dude, but yeah, I can't wait to hang out with you, man. We need to somehow.
You can hang out with Baby Fresh.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
I'm telling you, right?
That's great. That's awesome, Kelly. I can't wait either, man. I really want to. First I want to meet you. I want to hang out with you. I want to slap fives with you a little bit. But I think we can do it again, man. I think we can open a mic and keep it going.
I'm in the best position. I get to hang out not only with Baby Fresh, but Uncle Si at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
I would love it. I would love it. I would love to be in the studio with you guys and, be able to do some, I would love to do this, guys. I would love to host you guys in our salons throughout the country. If we did a traveling tour where you had your podcast live in the salon, so you could see what this stuff is, because there's a lot of people who talk about stats or, balloon numbers and things like that. But when you see these people, I've never seen anybody work the way that these guys work. These guys are, it's amazing to see it.
Deal. That's
we'll
it.
definitely take you up on that.
Yeah, we'll definitely that'll happen.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, Mr. Kelly, you gave us some great stuff. You gave us some great stories. You gave us tons of laughs, and I know that people love to laugh with us.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite.
One of your favorites?
They're all my favorites, but yeah, as far as giggles, right?
Yeah, exactly.
As far as it was funny.
That's awesome, Kelly. Once again, thank you very, very much for joining us on your day off. Hey, so there it is. Hey, this is a message that we've been trying to bring, I don't know, for the last couple of months, actually since we started the podcast. Hey, so if you like the podcast or if you find that it's useful, please leave us a review, a 5-star review on iTunes. Leave us a rating and a review.
But if you don't like it, forget about it.
Yeah, totally forget about this message. We also want to thank Sarah and Blaine from Pretty Gritty. Sarah and Blaine, they are a band out of Portland, Oregon, and we just want to thank them very much for allowing us to use their song, Pleased to Meet You, on our podcast. That's cool. I think you can find their music on iTunes.
Peace and hair grease.